Betsy and Thomas here for the American Intelligence Media. Thomas was on a roll the other day. Sometimes I wish I could just walk around with a microphone so you guys could hear the amazing stuff that I listen to all of the time. Welcome, Thomas.
Well, Betsy, the conclave shouldn't, cross swords with me. Then I start yelling because, I'm not on the air, so I get to yell whatever I want.
Well, it was good stuff, and we were talking about impeachment, so just try to grab what you were sharing with me and let's run with it.
Well, what I like, Betsy, is that you and I, after living through the first revolution, are living through the second revolution. Folks, this is the most historic time in America, except for the moments of the first American Revolution. So if you're paying attention, you're going to get really confused because you're going to see the left has gone absolutely insane. And we started using the word insane a few weeks ago, saying there's really no other word for this. What Schiff and Adler and Pelosi are doing, there's really no other word but insane. They cannot be in contact with reality because they are going to lose the Democratic seats of the House. They're going to lose more seats in the Senate. They're going to, of course, Trump's going to win. And since their entire platform has no planks in it, none, zero, or we could call it, some people are calling it, I love it, they call it the
Shampeachment?
Shampeachment and Impeachment 3.0. So when Trump is reelected, it's going to be great because what we saw as the attack on candidate Trump, and then the attack on Trump-elect, and then the attack on our current president. They say that this is impeach 3.0. No. It's destroy Trump 14.0. Because remember, it started even the second that they even thought he was going to run. That's when they started the opposition research. That's why it was found in the Democratic National Committee's server. And there was nothing there, because there is nothing. So that's the beauty of it. That's why they can't defeat him, because there's nothing that they can get him on.
Well, and then let's just say that they were successfully able to have an impeachment vote. That doesn't mean he's impeached. Then it goes to the Senate where there is a trial. And in the trial, Trump could call Lisa Page, Peter Strzok, Andrew McCabe. He could call the whole swamp. They do not want that.
Oh, heavens no. That's why they do not yet have a vote for an impeachment investigation. Okay? It is an inquiry. And it's improper that it has gone to the Judicial Committee, is going to go to the Judicial Committee after secret, supposedly, we told you that they would guard it underneath national security auspices, which is the Intelligence Committee. That's Schiff. Now, we know that Schiff is going to have to be called as a principal witness for this, and as soon as he is, then he can't have any more part in being the judge, jury, special counsel, legal counsel, super judge, whatever. He is making all decisions himself. And so they forced the issue by what I thought was one of the great things I've ever seen in my entire life, which was when the Republicans stormed Adam Schiff's meeting for a deposition this is what's really beautiful, for a deposition in a secure a SCIF, a secure communications information facility. Okay, that's never even been done before. Why would you do that? That's to exclude anybody that you want and claim that it's top secret, therefore you won't release any of it. But then, of course, what did he do? He and his leakers, because he's been the main leaker, leaked whatever he thought was damnable. And then the people walk out and say, no, there was nothing damnable. And then the people who are the Republicans in there say, I listened to all of it. There's nothing. And anyway, we have the transcript, so it's complete nonsense. What we really have is criminals. We have, what's his name, Charmella. So we have Charmella. We have now the person he spoke to. We have this new guy, the lieutenant colonel who came in his lovely uniform, who was on National Security Council, and he leaked. So you have all these people who are now admitting to crimes. That's why the whistleblower, Charmella, nobody wants to bring out, and they certainly don't want anyone to ask him questions. That won't happen. But that's because it doesn't have to happen. And we tried to explain this before. So if you've been worried since the last time Betsy and I talked about this, you just calm down, okay? Who cares that the House votes for impeachment? It means nothing.
Nothing.
All it means is there's an opposition party majority. That's all it means.
Well, no, it's what Nancy Pelosi and the fake media do is that they will take the words that are being used, impeachment, and push them into the media so that the low information patriots out there get confused and they think that there's an impeachment process. It's called spin. It's called propaganda.
Absolutely, Betsy. And it's only an inquiry. It's not an investigation, and it's completely improper. And all the rules had to be changed. The rules and regulations of the House were changed from the moment Pelosi got elected, as we pointed out. Even before that, they were all set up, and this was all set up as their calendar of impeachment. So this is following exactly as they anticipated. They're not going to let any evidence, especially exculpatory evidence or anything that shows his innocence, come to light. Only they're just picking and picking and picking. Their top lawyer, who's out there leaking, says they're going to go after him for obstruction. That's one of the points of an impeachment. And that the last thing on it of a whole series of things is the Ukrainian telephone call, which has now been pushed completely aside. That was just to cover up for Joe Biden's son's illegal activity. And now Biden is so crazy. He says he didn't know his son was on the gas board of Burisma. That is so unbelievable. Also, supposedly, it's November 2nd, Hunter Biden, you said you were going to get off that company, that you got the $1.5 billion deal with China, but you're not off yet. So everything they say is a lie, the Bidens. But remember, that was nothing. We all knew this was going to happen. Anyone who didn't know Joe's son was going to take him down has not been watching the news. They could go after Joe's brother. That would take Joe down. They could go after Joe's pedophilia, Joe's attack on children sexually. He's a sexual predator. Obviously, we have it on film. All of these things can't be denied, Hillary Clinton. Clinton is denying that she, has nothing to do with all these people who coincidentally just happened to die around her, shot in the back of the head with 2 bullets. Call it a suicide. So what we have is just these big fat liars.
No, they probably, Hillary's getting ready to run again, and they had to do a little of their own opposition research to see what people would object about her to run. And what they found was surprising, that people think she has murdered all these people. Well, this has been well known out in the internet for years, but Hillary's just seeing this. She has no idea the rest of the stuff we know about her.
She was out in the news in the last few days singing the praises of the Democratic shampeachment. Though during the time her husband got impeached and was impeached and stayed in office, by the way, he only had to pay a fine and he lost his lawyer license. So what? He went right back to attacking women. Because why? Because the Office of Compliance on Capitol Hill pays off people who are raped and sexually attacked by our politicians. Actually, they say 17 million. It's actually over $20 million during the time period that they're willing to give us the totals on those, and 235 attacks. 235 attacks. None of those politicians went to jail. As a matter of fact, Representative Underpants, who would literally in his underpants chase everyone around in his office trying to get them, if you know what I mean. Sometimes without the underpants. So we call him Representative Underpants. He's no longer there, of course. I don't want to say his name. But the point is, this goes on. This is what goes on. So Hillary Clinton and what she was doing, well, that's standard operating procedure for Capitol Hill. So what is really going on with impeachment? Let me just explain. If you're worried, don't be worried. This is the Trump effect. Everything they attack him with, since they have no evidence, proves that he's innocent in those areas. And then what does it subsequently prove? That you're an idiot to believe it. So if you're an idiot and you're believing it and you're waking up, it's not going to feel comfortable. It's going to feel very difficult because you are watching the news filled with subliminal programming strictly for the Democratic candidates and against Trump. Every single thing you see is probably saying subliminally to you things that affect the election. And that's going on right now, and it's been going on since 69 actually is when it began. The Senate can do the same to the rules of how they receive this supposed impeachment It's going to be impeachment, but it's not going to be based upon an investigation, because then it would have to be fair. It's going to be an inquiry, and then there's going to be a rush vote. And then it's going to go to the Senate. And then the crazy, completely compromised John Roberts, head of the corrupt Supreme Court, will come over and they'll have a trial. During that trial, it is illegal, it's impossible to take away Trump's rights. So if it's actually going to go to the Senate, which I don't, if it does, but we're unprecedented times, never in history has anything in America happened like this. It could.
So it would wind up being a trial with the swamp being on trial.
Thank you. It will expose all of the evil people who are
Yes.
making these accusations. So instead of Trump and a Ukraine call, it will be Biden, John Kerry and his stepson, Christopher Hines, who also got their piece of the pie. So it will be Hunter Biden. And
Hey, don't forget, Mitt Romney's in that snake's nest.
Cofer Block is his main guy. That's who's over
Yes.
getting the Capitol, Bain Capitol, Mitt Romney's piece of the pie over there. Of course, Pelosi's got her nephew over there getting his piece of the pie. But everybody got their piece of the pie because when the Democrats saw what was happening in Ukraine, they staged and spent over $4 billion supporting the evil, corrupt, two different groups in Ukraine that overthrew their election twice in a row. The Orange Revolution, the Maidan Revolution, that's a George Soros CIA. It actually comes directly out of our pocket, folks. It's called New Democracy. There's NGOs that Obama funded so huge that they were able to take $750,000 and use it against Netanyahu getting reelected. We have interfered in so many elections, you can't list them all. I have seen the list that goes all the way back to the source of this, which is the CIA, the OSS. And it's like 46 nations that we have interfered in their elections. We have overthrown their elections. We have basically had regime overthrow where we literally sent in either ourselves or our patsies or our allies or our coalition.
But all that practice, and now they are doing it to our country.
Correct, Betsy. That's the Second American Revolution. We're still in it. George Soros uses 7 steps. But the first step is take over the media. The second step is take over the dialogue in politics so that you have a uniparty, essentially, the bottom line. But the most important thing is to take an election and either rig it ahead of time and if they still get in afterwards, claim that it was a false election and never let up. And the last thing is don't let up, basically. And so that's the stage we're at with George Soros, claiming that it was a false election, that Hillary Clinton should be in office. So we have said it before, we're going to say it again, and now others are saying it. Hillary Clinton will be nominated from the floor of the Democratic National Committee after the first vote goes bad, because there will be nobody who will be able to take the majority. And then they will nominate her, and she will take it.
And let me say something. Y'all keep an eye out for old Hill Girl, because she doesn't stand up anymore in public, if you've noticed. All of her interviews have been seated. She is not physically fit for this.
Now, it just so happens that each of the Democrats that go down in the order pretty much that they go down are the people that we brought out intelligence reports on and showed their corruption. And so when Kamala Harris, what is it that she went down for? It was her racist remarks against Joe Biden, who was set up to go down, okay? Joe Biden was set up to go down. He can never be a candidate. He doesn't know what state he's in. He doesn't know anything he ever did. And if he does think he knows it, it's the opposite of what happened. His son couldn't be any more corrupt. He is on Rosemont Seneca board. He got his share, $900,000 of the Burisma deal, and he wants to tell us that he doesn't know his son is on that board. Okay, this man is as corrupt as Hillary Clinton and Obama, so he can't get elected. So you look at anybody, Bernie, unelectable. Elizabeth Warren, unelectable. Who do they have? Nothing. Why was that done? Hillary is still in control of the Democratic National Committee, and it is her machine, it is her money, and she's not letting go. And as long as George Soros is behind her, that is going to be her. And probably, I'm sorry to have to say it, I have to spit after I say the name, but big Michelle Obama, will probably be her running mate. And it will probably be the first time in history that they'll announce clearly from the get-go who's going to be the vice president along with her, because that's the selling package, believe it or not, folks. A person who was more fake than anything. They proved that her book on the bestseller list was fake, that she absolutely was not selling all those books.
Who's the she you're talking about?
Michelle Obama.
Michelle Obama is a man.
Big Mike.
It's a he. So it will be Hillary, and this is just warped. And I'll tell you what, we're fed up with it. This is Tavistock Frankfurt School programming, and I'm tired of it.
Well, how about Buttigieg? How about Mayor Pete? You know why Mayor Pete was in there?
We're not going to go for...
To soften us up. To soften us up for Big Mike. Because why? Mayor Pete's a complete fake. The picture of him holding a weapon, notice he doesn't have it on any of the proper gear. He didn't see any action. He is a fake, and he is a Rhodes Scholar. And if you don't know what that is, that is a Pilgrim Society devotee. So what we have is a complete scam on the entire Democratic side. It's to basically use them to attack, like look at Beto, to attack Trump every day with a new name calling so that they would get in the news every day trying to break everybody down so they have then a chance for the subliminal program to be put in those articles as well as anything broadcast to bring Trump down. Well, guess what? We don't listen to it anymore. And if you do listen to the mainstream media, then be careful because you're being programmed, because that's what they planned to do. And you're being programmed by the opposition party, and it is evil, and it is not in any way American.
But the good news is we've just painted the scenario, and there's no way out for these bad guys now.
It goes to the Senate. If it goes to the Senate, first point, obstruction. Already proven there's no obstruction, and there can't be obstruction because what it's being obstructed never happened. Okay, throw that one. That's their best case scenario. Everything else is garbage below it. Don't like the color of his face. Don't like his hair. Don't like that he's a billionaire. Okay, these are the stupid. Practically that's stupid. I'm not going to make the list because they're the same garbage we've been hearing. Turn on the mainstream media. They'll make a list for you. Okay, but
what it is all about is the globalists are using their puppets to try to take Trump down. And here we have John Brennan now and John McLaughlin all but saying that the deep state, the senior executive service, is working to overthrow the president.
Yes, but it had already overthrown, through corporate intelligence, the entire National Security Council, which controls the president. The president was getting a briefing from somebody who's as crooked as can be the whole time, Miss Ireland. And what was she telling him? Only if there's weapons of mass destruction. Other than that, go ahead, President Obama. The intelligence community is behind you to bomb anybody you want. And if they flinch or try to bomb us back, then we bomb them even more. So the intelligence community had been sold out. We see this. They then used that against Trump because they thought he could never win. But he did win, and now they're all exposed. So we get the Trump effect. So if the sham impeachment goes to the Senate, what happens? It is the biggest exposure of the shadow government and the globalist deep state. We even have the CIA, the head of basically the rogue CIA now, which is John Brennan, admitting, as well as McLaughlin and others, Clapper, everybody admitting there's a deep state. And they're saying, God bless the deep state. Thank heavens for the deep state. Thank heavens the deep state can overthrow Trump. Okay, folks, that's how bad it was. That when the leaders of the attack on American independence, freedom, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, the intelligence community, when they get caught, do they get prosecuted? Did Comey, McCabe, anybody get prosecuted? Nope. What happens? They get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars first on their GoFundMe account. Then they get a job at the mainstream media so that we can hear them tell more lies on top of more lies on top of more lies. So when it goes to the Senate, all that has to happen is for them to refuse it. They don't have to bring it even. Why? Because they can say, you didn't follow due process. Send it back. Show me the results of the investigation. That's an inquiry. It's an inquiry that was a resolution to support something that never existed. There is no impeachment. But we want it to go to the Senate. Holy heavens! This is the best news ever. If it goes to the Senate, They're just putting the ropes around their neck.
No,
it's unbelievable what they've done. It's the stupidest thing in history.
It would become a public trial.
Yes. And Trump would eat them alive.
It would be so good.
And they don't even have to look at Ukraine. They could look at the second they look, if they in fact, and this is what one of their leading lawyers has been insinuating through leaks, if obstruction of justice is on it, they get to open up the entire Mueller investigation. And then when Trump is reelected, I was going to say this earlier, there will be no more special counsels and there'll be no more grand juries. They should be illegal. They are essentially against the freedom of the Constitution and that we have due process. These are non-due process Star Chamber kangaroo courts. This is the hanging judge. This is disgusting what goes on. So, obstruction of justice for Trump? Oh, yes, please bring it on. Because then everything in the Mueller report can then be brought up. Okay? The 500 witnesses, we only got to hear about 24 that were on Trump's team. What about the other 500? Oh, here's one for you. 13 nations, through what we have as an agreement with them, helped create the Mueller report. In other words, Trump asking Ukraine to help look into the corruption, and we know that Mueller was working with Ukraine when it was all filled with all the corruption. So now the new person, Zelensky, comes in and Trump asks for him to look into it. Can't do it. Mueller did that 13 times with 13 different nations. I mean, hundreds of times with 13 nations. That's some of the fake evidence you have. And then, of course, he says Joseph Mifsud was, the Russian. Well, no, Joseph Mifsud is paid by the CIA. We now know. Oh, Stephen Halper is not going to come. So all these things are going to come forth. Arvinder stand by, and let's put the Auras on the stand, and let's look at them going to jail for life because of all of their security agreement violations and for treason and sedition, and looking at literally meeting. It depends, literally. Depends what office they're in. There are some of these people who can go to a military trial and literally, in some cases, be hung or shot for treason.
Know. Yes, this is huge. Now, that's on the one side. And then the other side, what we have right now is we have the conflict is sitting over there at the House of Representatives. So I say let's just forget all the drama that you just described, and let's just take it to the mat. They bring their best guy forward, and I guess that's going to be Adam Schiff. Bring him. And we're going to bring our best guy. That's going to be Jim Jordan. Get the mat out there right in the middle of Capitol Hill. And let's take it to the mat, boys. And the one who wins. And we end this stuff and we get on with making America great.
I'll even go best 2 out of 3.
Best 2 out of 3.
I'll give Adam
Jim
a chance.
Will have that shifty. He'll have him down the mat in, 10 seconds?
Adam Schiff is now a principal witness in this, who has in fact conspired in what could only be called sedition. There's no other way to look at this. Pelosi can have some deniability. Nadler, in a minute, when the judiciary starts their inquiry, which is going to be public, which is going to be a real joke, he may dip into that. But we know that Adam Schiff claimed again and again that President Trump had committed treason, that he had the evidence to prove collusion. No, wrong. Or else he kept it and never gave it to Robert Mueller, which is impossible. And now he says he has evidence of obstruction. No, he doesn't. And did he not work? Did he basically work against the Mueller investigation? And now he says he has the evidence. No, the evidence he created. These people weren't even supposed to have most of that information, and that Vindman went in, Lieutenant Colonel, and said that he remembered when he looked at the transcript afterwards. Believe it or not, he listened to the transcript, and then he looked at the written words, and he said that he remembered, when he looked at the transcript, the written transcript, words that weren't on the page, so he wrote them in. He admits that he tampered with executive privilege, top secret, president's eyes only clearance, which is higher than Q, folks. Sorry. He violated that. I've signed those contracts. The punishment for that is many years in jail, huge amounts of money, and if it dips a little too far, it's sedition and treason. And if you are in the military, or you have, or still under some type of military contract, which could even extend to SES because they are paramilitary, possibly, I think that you could meet a military tribunal for treason because
However,
it's very clear what's happened here.
If you are a member of senior executive service, nobody will pay any attention to your crimes.
Because only other senior executive service members even get to know that you exist, give you bonuses every year, tell you what to do, and run a union that tells all 10,000 of you what to do, which foot to move forward when. In other words, the shadow government.
And we taxpayers, suckers we are, foot the bill for all of this.
It's the worst of Nazism refined through the British. Well, actually, it started in Britain, refined by the Germans and brought to America through Paperclip, MK Ultra, and all the other things, Mockingbird. And we now have it in our government, and that's what Trump is fighting. But the Trump effect is beautiful because these people think by getting out in the ring with him and calling him names that he can't call them names back because he's the president. No, he turns right around and tweets back who they are, and then they crumble. No one has stood against him yet. No one, not even President Xi, not China, not North Korea, not Iran, not the theocracy of radical Islamic terrorism. Russia, no one has stood against Trump. Not even Hillary Clinton. Well, okay, maybe the Queen. But we're working on the Queen because Betsy's not letting up on that Queen. And this second American Revolution is going to put that Queen either out of a monarchy job or in jail where she belongs, in America, because she is a war actor, because she is anti-American, because she controls America through the shadow government. She controls America through the globalist deep state. So when you have deep staters in America, globalists, internationalists, who have sold out, and I told you they'd sell out immediately to intelligence corporations in the news, and they did. When you have those people up there and they're barking at you from the screen and you're supposed to believe that, and you see it in every single channel, you think you're nuts if you don't believe it. Nope, folks, you're nuts if you do believe it because you just didn't look. Who is writing the articles? That's called ISIS management, believe it or not. And the one who puts the prompter bylines up there, that's Avid. And who owns that? Dianne Feinstein's husband. And what is she? A Chinese agent, just like Mitch McConnell. So why won't Mitch McConnell right now put an end to the sham impeachment by saying, we are changing the rules, that we're not even going to entertain a vote which is a proposal to have a resolution to support an inquiry. That's not an impeachment event. He doesn't want that. But if he's doing it politically because it's going to win Trump the election and it's going to win both the House and the Senate, okay. I don't trust Mitch McConnell as far as he can pick up his Chinese wife and throw her.
Okay, so now at any point through this discussion here, we could remind you out there that the media and the intelligence agencies were all birthed at the same time. That's why you see them go from working in the government SES to the media, and then they go into the intelligence agencies and back out again. They're all one happy family.
Oh, yeah. And it's so well hidden that they hid the British sources of this by making it into a trust. They always make it into a trust and into something that, it's philanthropic. They give scholarships just like Cecil Rhodes gave Rhodes scholarships. Now they give, believe it or not, what she just referred to, the 1909, which was the Imperial Press Union, Empire Press Union, Commonwealth Press Union, Commonwealth Press Trust now, is one of the largest in the world. So they're one of the biggest influences in the world. And you never heard of them now, did you? You think Reuters is big? That's nothing. You think Reuters Thompson? You think IP is big? Nothing. They were all in the pocket of, and still are, the Empire Press Union, which is in the pocket of the Pilgrim Society.
So history matters.
History matters. We can prove it all. And so many people who would say these things with conspiracy furor and with the feelings of a zealot, no, we have the calm, cold, cruel facts that the British incubated the Bolshevik Revolution. With Lenin and Trotsky and Stalin and Marx and Engels, all there, they were British buddies. They were funded by the Brits and the Americans. Why? Because the British did not successfully take over the Germans after World War I, and so they had to do it again in World War II. And then after that, they said, well, let's see, if we can't just use Milner's plan and make sure that the monarchy in Russia is destroyed. Not the monarchy in Britain. Why? Because it's not British monarchy. It's not Windsor's. Those are Germans. So this is a German-Aryan fight with other Aryans claiming to be Anglo-Saxons. It's completely silly.
Can you catch us up? Anything new on the Michael Flynn case? Anything good that you see coming from Sidney Powell?
It's huge, and we told you. Long time ago, the first time that judge postponed a judgment, a decision, that judge knew that if she decided that would be her career. Or who is the judge? Berman? I can't remember who the judge is. Anyway, it'd be the judge's career. Why? Because that was a railroading, and we told you why they railroaded, and we told you how they get caught, and now it's come out exactly. Sidney Powell, came in, and it was like she read every one of our intelligence reports and everything on the entire. I think Sidney Powell spent 3 weeks reading the Americans for Innovation entire crime line, because what she did is she grabbed out the stuff that related to Flynn and said, no, Judge. Here's the proof that American intelligence media told everyone a long, long time ago. They blackmailed Michael Flynn with his son. Oh, yes, they did. They said they were going to put him in jail like Paul Manafort, and they made an example of Manafort and an example of his buddy who turned him in, Rick Gates, who went state's evidence. We'll never get to know because even Nadler can't get. Remember, everyone was thrilled. Nadler and the Judiciary Committee is so thrilled because they get the whole Robert Mueller report. Wrong. I told you that within 48 hours, another judge would overturn that, and they did in an appeals court. That's nonsense. He'd have to break all the rules. Now, if you want to get rid of all grand juries and all special counsels, I'm all for that, and bring that out. That may happen, Mr. Nadler, but not the way you imagine. Flynn is revealing the whole thing. This could overturn and George Papadopoulos can sue if Flynn wins. Okay? Lying to a rigged grand jury that had exculpatory evidence of everyone that they condemned. But Manafort may get out of some of these things.
Look at what you've just described. You've shown in this conversation all the dead ends they've reached. These people have no place to run.
None. And that's the reason they keep extending these 17 lawsuits that are part of the Mueller investigation, many of which will never, ever be addressed. And the people in charge of them are quitting. That's what you see now. The people in charge of the Department of Justice National Security Division, all along, I think we're on our 5th head of that division, lawyers, they're out because they know that if they even sit in that chair for a minute and they don't turn them in, they're culpable. And we saw that with the FBI, James Baker, not Colonel James Baker, that recently was caught as the leaker for Michael Flynn. Now, that is different. That's the different James Baker. That is from the Office of Net Intelligence from the Navy, and they work with the Highlands Forum. And James Baker, Colonel James Baker, is pure evil. He wanted Michael Flynn out because Michael Flynn told Obama, you're wrong about Syria, and you're wrong to have all this corporate intelligence in here. Get rid of them. They're our leakers. They're our enemies. What did they do to him? Kicked him out. Then they went after him because he started working for Sputnik and RT, Russia Today, as a commentator. Oh, anybody else can do that. No, they don't go after them. And then he didn't get, because he was Erdogan's, he went to Turkey because he believed that we shouldn't be in Syria.
But look, not to mention that his son, Michael Jr., was getting intelligence off of places like Before It's News. That really had him upset.
That's what exploded the whole thing.
Yes.
We were writing for Before It's News, and we considered it a joke that we could get to the top every single time we wrote an article and get more hits than anybody because we wanted just to do it for fun. So we did. So we were watching it very, very closely, and we were doing a lot of intelligence reports called the Anonymous Patriots Intelligence Reports. You can go back and check all these details if you want. But the point is that at one point they kept saying, where is Trump getting his intelligence if he isn't having intelligence briefings each day from the crazy, compromised intelligence community? And no one could answer. And then, it's Steve Bannon. It's Breitbart. It's Drudge. It's boom, 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 boom. They guessed and guessed and guessed. They couldn't figure out, where is Donald Trump getting his intelligence? One day, Donald Trump quotes something, and he holds up a piece of paper, which looked like a printout from the front page of Before It's News. Now, you can't read the words very clearly, or we would have seen if our article was up there, because we like to be number one. But anyway, whatever he was quoting there was a map of something or another.
It was a chart.
A chart, yeah, and he held it up.
And we knew where it came from.
Well, because we were usually getting number one hits on that.
Yes.
So he puts it down. He only holds it up for a few seconds. They went nuts. Donald Trump gets his news from Before It's News, from Michael Savage, from Alex Jones. They went completely out of their minds. And that is when they thought they really had Michael Flynn, because where did that Before It's News article come from? It came from Michael Flynn's son. Why? Michael Flynn's son had been making numerous remarks about such things, and he was following it. And we could tell by what he was saying that he was certainly following American intelligence. Well, we were anonymous patriots at that point. We could tell that Michael Flynn's son absolutely was following the intelligence reports that we were making, because he was quoting them in the news. So we knew that was our kind of inside to the Trump team, per se. And so we watched it very carefully. Michael Flynn didn't have to register as a FARA agent. Now, he was stupid not to. All he did was give some advice to Erdogan. Hello? Everyone gives advice to Erdogan. He doesn't take any of it. Did he take Michael Flynn's advice? No. Did it cause what they tried to set him up with, which was Sally Yates was completely responsible for those crazy 302s being rewritten by Lisa Page that was supposed to be from her lover, Peter Strzok, who now denies it was him and says that it was that other guy, Fiente, whatever his name is. Anyway, the point is, Sally Yates set that up. It was all fake. So they came to Trump and said, you got to get rid of him because he talked about sanctions with the Russians. What? What are you talking about? Of course he didn't talk about it. And so what if he did? That's his job. He's the National Security Council advisor. This is so friggin' common that the Hillary campaign during all of 2016 was talking to the Russians more than we were. This is documented fact. So if Michael Flynn did talk and he said he didn't remember it, remember they did the same thing to Jeff Sessions. Why? They had wiretapping of them through Carter Page and through George Papadopoulos. Carter Page from, we'll say March 2016, and George Papadopoulos from July 31st, 2016. They already had complete open channels and all these people. They said, they asked him a question. They gave a general answer. And then they said, no, you said this at this point. Now, the person, without their lawyer in a grand jury, what are they going to say? Are they now going to deny it? Tough luck. Because they have that illegal transcript from the illegal FISA warrants, we're the only ones still saying this. I heard one person pick it up from us, say it, and then never do anything, and he's one of the top reporters in America. I'm not even going to mention his name because we don't want to reveal him. But national security letters, those FISA sign-off don't mean anything. There was never a hearing. Those were applications. That's how they're going to get out of that. That's the reason that they act with impunity. But Comey signed the national security letters because Brennan got him to with Clapper's approval. So if Comey goes down, that's the reason that Brennan and Clapper are out there fighting for Comey and the intelligence community from that time, right? So we know all of this happened. And what they were really trying to do was just make certain that this is the at least 13th iteration of that. And before that, there were 28 crimes of treason by Comey. 13th iteration of the Crossfire Hurricane, folks. 13th iteration. This isn't the third impeachment. This is the 13th iteration of a regime change and an election meddling, which they knew Trump was going to win. Of course they did. He simply followed the intelligence community's recommendations, and he followed them to a T, and he won. And because Hillary didn't pick up enough of Bernie's ideas, and Bernie smeared her in the primaries, and she got caught with stealing all that money from the Democratic National Committee, and because many people didn't believe her lies about the Russian hacking, she didn't win. even though she had infinite money from George Soros. So at this point, if Trump wins again, every one of those people in the 2016 meddling, which is the 36 people we've described for you in great detail, they're all going down because they're doing it again.